Welcome back. Now, the Labour Registrar has filed a notice of intent to cancel the registration of mine workers' union Amcu. Among the reasons given is the union has ceased to function in terms of its constitution and is not a genuine trade union. So what are the implications of the union being deregistered? To answer this and more, I'm joined now by Labour expert Andrew Levy. Andrew, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon. This is not the first time, really, that we have had Amcu flirt with the idea of deregistration.
I'm not sure at this stage whether it's flirting with the idea or the registrar is flirting with them. But certainly if they are deregistered, it will be a very serious blow. And, you know, given that they've had a disastrous strike at Sibanye-Stillwater, one wonders how much more they can take. And of course, it's bound to be of some significance with the platinum wage talks coming up. So all in all, it's a very interesting development.
Now, under what circumstances really can the department actually deregister the union in itself, or any union for that matter?
Yeah, there are broadly two areas. The first one, and it's unlikely to be in this case the issue, is that the union is regarded as not being independent of the employer and not functioning as a true trade union. Now, under those circumstances, it might be what is called a sweetheart union, something set up by the employer to keep out independent unions. That's certainly not the case here. More likely is the fact that Amcu has failed to abide by the Constitution, and I refer here to its own Constitution, to the constitutional obligations to keep books of account, to send those in on an annual basis to the registrar to ensure that the financial interests of the members are being protected and that there's no financial skullduggery. And also they have to make annual returns on their membership and report on their formal meetings. So it's usually those circumstances under which the registrar will first caution them and say you have 60 days in which to provide the information, and if the union does not do so, as would appear to be the case here, then it has to gazette a notification calling on interested parties to make representations as to why it should not be withdrawn.
But at this moment in time, can we just shed some light, Andrew, in terms of how many people actually belong to the union Amcu, and also the implications that this would particularly have? I mean, you just mentioned Sibanye-Stillwater. We saw for how many months this strike went on, and you know, they were at the forefront in terms of negotiations with the employer.
Well, let's take the second part first, which looks at what are the implications for them. Now, firstly, the fact that they're not registered will not stop them going on strike, or for that matter, that strike being protected. But what it will do mean is that they lose the protections and the benefits that registered unions have in terms of the LRA. The most important of those are the so-called organizing rights found in sections 12 to 16 of the LRA, and that's got to do with collecting their fees, which is obviously a huge issue for them. The second has got to do with access for meetings. The third's got to do with shop stewards. The fourth's got to do with information disclosure. So all of those would have a very significant negative for the union. Equally, it leaves them more vulnerable to being sued by the employer as a result of losses incurred during a strike, although that in itself doesn't solely turn on whether they are registered or not. But it would be a very serious slap in the face for a union which was previously registered to be deregistered on those grounds, because if nothing else, it's got to raise a lot of question marks as to the financial management of the union and what is happening to the members' contributions, and are they being managed properly. And obviously, you know, coming at a time where Amcu has undoubtedly struck for 5 months with absolutely no gain, we know that there will be serious job losses as a result. This has got to be a huge opportunity for NUM, which was displaced in platinum by Amcu, to make a return bid. So I think we're going to see the ante, particularly for Amcu, being ratcheted up.
Now, I mean, looking at, we're speaking about it from the perspective of Amcu. I'm just thinking now from the perspective of the actual union members. The members have been paying membership fees, and some of them ensuring that indeed those fees are paid up just so that they can have that representation with the employer at any given level. So what happens in the instance of the trade union members, those members that have been paying their membership faithfully, those members that want the representation of Amcu and even sit under the auspices of the alleged protection of Amcu? Are they able then to, within themselves demand some form of retribution if it does get to the point where Amcu gets deregistered?
Yes, they certainly would. If the basis, and these are all big ifs, we have no information, if the basis of the deregistration arises out of financial mismanagement and in point of fact actions that would be tantamount to fraud, then of course the members would have an action against the leadership who committed that fraud, as well as it being a possible criminal offence. But I must stress that we have no information as to what the issue might be. I do know that there has been an issue in a number of unions, and I suspect this may be the case with Amcu as well, that they are seeking to have the members' contributions and their accredited surpluses in their pension provident funds transferred to a union-controlled scheme. Now, if that were the case, and in the case of Amcu, it would amount to billions of rand. If there wasn't adequate protection for that money, it would leave the members open to losing their pensions entirely. So all of the registration provisions are aimed at achieving that protection. But at the end of the day, if a union chooses not to register, then it's free to do so. It does face the downside, but it's not going to stop it acting completely. But it certainly will put it at a disadvantage. And one's simply got to say at this stage, how much more disadvantageous moves can Amcu sustain?
And we're going to leave our conversation there, but thanks a lot for joining us and shedding some light in terms of the developments there where Amcu is actually concerned. So looking at the Labour Registrar, which has filed that notice to cancel, or the intent to cancel, the registration of the Mine Workers Union.